When a basketball team is totally out of sync, there is a certain, indisputable sense that permeates the arena. It's evident in the players' body language. It can be heard in the crowd's whispers. And it's evident in the ball's slow mechanical motion. That same sense of offensive stagnation hovered over the court like a thick cloud throughout the first 3 minutes of the U.S. national team's game versus Italy. We were watching a group of the world's best women's basketball players appear completely unremarkable as they struggled to establish a rhythm against an international defense that they ought to be destroying. 5-5 was displayed on the scoreboard. An offensive powerhouse scored 5 points in 3 minutes. Everyone in attendance had to ask the same question after the slow, unsettling beginning. How much longer will Team USA persist in this obstinate, pointless experiment with their starting lineup? The American public has been sold a narrative by the basketball elite. They have been attempting to persuade us that Caitlin Clark must wait her time behind the seasoned veterans, that conventional slow-paced half-court basketball is the safest method to cross foreign waters, and that seniority determines success. However, that story fell apart in real time when it came to Italy. When the conventional starting lineup was tested, it was not working. There was no kinetic energy at all in the offense. Chelsea Gray, a remarkable and famous floor general in her own right, was in charge of a system that lacked the explosive unpredictability necessary to breach the Italian defensive shell because it was just too plodding and predictable. The game was turning into a low-scoring, dirty, and grinding contest. Then, on the Team USA sidelines, there was a moment of complete clarity. Assistant coach Nate Tibbetts took over as head coach, while Cara Lawson was away attending March Madness to fulfill her collegiate responsibilities. And Tibbetts did what any logical, analytical basketball mind would do when faced with a slow offense and an immobile scoreboard. He gave up on the political establishment. He gave up on managing his ego. He called the number 22 after glancing along the bench 3 minutes into the first quarter. It was more than a change in momentum that followed. It was an outright hostile and violent invasion of a basketball game. The U.S. national team had 5 points when Caitlin Clark took the court. With Clark officially running the point, the squad scored 23 points in the next 6.5 minutes of the first quarter. I'll say that again because it's important to properly comprehend the statistical lunacy of that run. Without her, they scored 5 points in 3 minutes. With her, they scored 23 points in 6.5 minutes. The offense did more than merely get better. It experienced a profound and amazing transformation. The entire geometry of the floor stretched to its limit as soon as Clark grabbed possession of the basketball. After comfortably packing the paint and playing the passing lanes for the first 3 minutes, the Italian defenders were abruptly thrown into a state of utter fear. They needed to keep up their defensive pressure until they were 30 feet away, fearful of Clark's infinite range. The Team USA offense turned into an unstoppable, well-coordinated juggernaut the instant they increased that pressure.
Let's get this going. Let me just... Oh. Misdirection. Backdoor. Take it to the rack. Layup. Folks, look at the score, actually. 5-5. We only scored 5 points in the first 3 minutes of this game. Caitlin Clark...
Observe this particular possession's utter brilliance. This is precisely what we mean when we say that a player significantly alters an offense's operating system. Every eye in the Italian defense is focused on Clark's every move when she possesses the ball. They're looking forward to the deep three. They're looking forward to the pick and roll. However, Clark employs a clever trick. She creates a tiny window of weakness along the baseline by manipulating the defense with her gaze. With a flawless backdoor cut and a pass that totally avoids the defensive rotation, Clark makes a high-percentage layup at the rim with ease. This goes beyond simply tossing the ball to a player who is available. This is deliberately tricking the other team into giving up the simplest basketball shot. While the defense is trapped in a game of checkers, she is playing chess. Even if the first quarter avalanche was incredible, Caitlin Clark's forced return to the bench was the real tale of this basketball game and the indisputable evidence of her vital role on the team. The coaching staff went back to their regular rotations in the second and third quarters. Presumably to give her some rest, they put their generational catalyst down, but the outcome on the ground was nothing short of a tactical catastrophe. the offensive instantly returned to the slow, uninspired, clumsy jumble we had seen in the first 3 minutes. The Italian defense contracted in the absence of Clark's gravitational force expanding the floor. The lanes that passed by disappeared. Hard, fiercely contested isolation jumpers deep into the shot clock took the place of the simple transition buckets. You must examine the raw data in order to completely comprehend the enormous discrepancy. Without Caitlin Clark on the court, Team USA was only able to defeat Italy by 7 points in the latter quarters of this basketball game. A dogfight broke out. Every basket was a fight. It was precisely the kind of basketball that leaves a team open to a huge upset on the global scene. Instead of having a coherent, fluid offensive scheme, the club appeared to be completely mortal and excessively dependent on individual heroics. They were pleading with someone to rescue them from their own immobility. The fourth quarter then comes. The lineup that everyone in the basketball world has been clamoring to see is finally released by the coaching staff. Kelsey Plum, Paige Buchers, and Caitlin Clark were all placed on the ground simultaneously.
But, go behind the back here. In between the legs. Let me stop. Hold on. Turn around. Fade away. In your face. Eat that.
I want you to play this sequence repeatedly if you have any doubts about her ability to defeat elite international defenders on her own. Her detractors frequently assert that she solely uses the three-point shot and lacks the superior, deft ball-handling abilities of a conventional point guard. Watch this completely debunk that absurd misconception. On the periphery, she is alone. She completely stops the defender's progress by going behind the back. She establishes a rhythm with a smooth transition into a between-the-legs dribble, stops on the spot, and then elevates for a turnaround fadeaway jumper directly in the face of the opponent. The mechanics are perfect. The footwork is flawless. The release happens quite quickly. A defender's spirit is completely destroyed by this shot because it doesn't matter if you play textbook perfect defense. She is a multifaceted scoring danger at the pinnacle of her abilities. However, it wasn't just about making individual shots in the fourth quarter. It was about seeing how team camaraderie changed and dispelling harmful online stories about internal conflict and jealousy in the locker room. There has been constant discussion concerning Angel Rhee and Caitlin Clark's inability to get along. The game film from the fourth quarter of this particular clash utterly shatters that story into a million pieces. We have seen tapes analyzed frame by frame to demonstrate a sabotage agenda.
She sets some nice Yup, free up some space. Step back. Signature Caitlin Clark 3 with the step back going left. Angel Reese actually excited about it, if you can believe it. If you can believe it. Look at all that space. Pull up. Bang! To end the quarter. Now Angel Reese bricks.
Take a look at this clip's amazing selfless synergy. The player that is said to detest playing with Clark over the internet, Angel Rhee, sets an exceptionally challenging, flawless screen. The perimeter defense is totally destroyed by her. The nasty job is done by her. She makes the room. And Caitlin Clark uses that area with horrifying accuracy. She launches an absolute missile from logo range while using her trademark step-back maneuver, fading to her left to create an ocean of separation. Angel Rhee is clearly thrilled and celebrating the shot as the ball breaks past the net. This is the appearance of championship basketball. It is about building an unstoppable collective force by leveraging individual abilities. Clark delivers the deadly long-range execution, while Rhee handles the physical enforcement. No defensive strategy in the world can stop those two players when they are working together during a pick-and-roll or dribble handoff. The transition game we saw in the fourth quarter was a clinic in offensive velocity, if the half-court cohesion wasn't enough to scare the world of basketball. The clock begins to run when you grab a defensive rebound. There is about 2.5 seconds to catch a defense out of position. That window closes if your traditional point guard insists on walking the ball up the floor. However, the quick break turns into a weapon of mass destruction when you have a player whose default setting is a full sprint.
Where is she? There she is. Gives Caitlin Clark the ball. Caitlin Clark pushing it. Paige already up the... Oh, look at the threading the needle. Sweet. Oh, in between two defenders. Pass was so good that defender almost fell over. Look at that. Pass so good. Up. Dump.
See how this sequence plays out. In spite of heavy traffic, Kiki Urifand does a fantastic job securing the defensive rebound. However, what she does next is absolutely crucial to this scenario. She doesn't drop the ball to the ground. She doesn't make an effort to play forward. She finds her point guard right away and performs the basic outlet pass. The Italian defense is totally undermined the moment the ball comes into contact with Caitlin Clark's hands. With an exceptionally high basketball IQ, Paige Bucher understands the scenario and starts running down the floor at a dead sprint. What follows is pure, unadulterated basketball wizardry. Clark is reading the retreating defense in real time while driving the ball at breakneck speed. Two Italian defenders are positioned precisely in the passing channel, but she still sees Bucher sprinting for the basket. That passing window is safely closed for 99% of point guards worldwide. You set up the offensive and pull the ball out. Clark, however, is blind to closed windows. In a desperate attempt to stop the ball, the retreating defender practically stumbles and nearly falls as she threads an impossible needle with such speed and accuracy. Bucher finishes with ease after the ball drops perfectly in his stride. It is not simple work when Paige Bucher and Caitlin Clark are on the floor at the same time. The clinic is offensive. The quality of playmaking, shooting, and space makes the game appear completely smooth. One player's presence completely controlled the change from the slow, grinding basketball of the second and third quarters to the stunning, fluid, high-octane attack of the first and fourth quarters. In the case against the starting lineup of Team USA, the box score is the last, indisputable prosecutor. This game produces numbers that are so incredibly dominant that they almost seem ridiculous. With 12 points, 5 assists, and an incredible, mind-blowing 102% true shooting percentage, Caitlin Clark finished the game. True shooting percent, which accounts for field goals, three-point field goals, and free throws, gauges a player's effectiveness at shooting the ball in the intricate realm of advanced basketball analytics. A 102% true shooting metric indicates that you are playing at an offensive level of excellence that is nearly impossible to maintain mathematically. It indicates that you are making the most of each and every touch, shot, and possession. However, the plus-minus is the most damaging statistic for the coaching staff, the figure that fully reveals the weakness in their rotating approach. Caitlin Clark had a plus 25 rating at the end of the game, which was a team high. Let's put that figure in perspective. The minutes Clark spent on the court were a complete carnage in a basketball game when the middle quarters were fiercely competitive. Team USA led the Italian national team by 25 points when she was playing. When she started the game early, the team scored 28 points. When she was given the opportunity to finish the game, they scored 24 points. The team appeared disoriented when she sat down. It seemed as though we were witnessing two entirely different basketball teams wearing identical jerseys because of how striking, indisputable, and clear the contrast was. The Team USA experiment has officially reached a turning point. Political correctness is no longer relevant. It's time to stop defending the egos of seasoned pros. A guy who completely turns your slow offense into a high-octane machine with a 102% true shooting percentage and a plus 25 impact rating is not left on the bench for the first tip. It is no longer merely a mistaken strategy. It's getting genuinely absurd. 3 minutes into the game, Nate Tibbetts, the acting head coach, realized the truth. The offensive emergency was visible to him. He brought in the savior after pressing the panic button. However, playing your greatest player should necessitate an offensive emergency. A 5-point drought shouldn't be necessary to see how outdated your conventional lineup is. The level of competitiveness on a global scale will only increase. There will only be more physical demands. Additionally, Team USA must give the offense's indisputable keys to the player who literally saved them from an embarrassing start, stop playing games with the rotation, and stop thinking about seniority if they want to ensure their domination on the world stage. We appreciate you tuning in to the internet's most tenacious, strategically focused basketball analysis. We don't work with popular narratives. We just speak the truth based on the game video and advanced analytics. We don't defend the establishment. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit like on this video if you're sick of clickbait and want to learn the real X's and O's of women's basketball. Is it officially time for the coaching staff to swallow their pride, bench a veteran, and designate Caitlin Clark as the starting point guard for the U.S. national team going forward? Please let me know in the comments section below. I'll see you in the upcoming breakdown.